Hey there guys, Leon here. As I stated in my last video, this will be a discussion on my thoughts and feelings regarding the coronavirus and everything centered around it. I only ask that you please watch all the way to the end before you disagree or dismiss what I say. Small disclaimer to please not take any of this personally if you feel like that it applies to you, as it is my opinion and purely my thoughts on the situation that is going on around us. I don't claim to know everyone's situation, and I may be missing some details as to my arguments, but I am expressing my thoughts from the perspective of where I have dealt with them. I won't lie though, this video will be blunt on what I discuss, so if you do have eggshell skin and cannot take an open, honest discussion regarding this virus mess, then you may want to go ahead and click out of the video, because I don't sugarcoat what I say to people. I'm honest and I speak from the heart. With all that out of the way though, let's go ahead and begin. So to start with, I'm sure we can all agree that we feel our lives have been turned upside down from this virus occurring, and is still going. Nothing is as it once was. We can't go out practically anywhere without carrying a mask, which would have been something we would have only done for Halloween, which seems to be every day now. On the plus side though, all the weebs thrive in that regard, because we can pretend to be Naruto characters and it be considered normal. Seriously though, I get that it can be very uncomfortable and inconvenient. Everyone has their own thoughts about the mask as well as this whole social distancing thing. A lot of us don't want to separate ourselves from our lives or our loved ones, or feel that we have done so long enough. We're a very social race. We enjoy companionship in a variety of ways with different kinds of people. I myself have been affected to the point that I have to put my IT certification on hold because I'm a hands-on learner and do not wish to be sent home in mid-semester to try and learn online. Which, if I was a person who could learn that way, I wouldn't be going to school in the first place. So I fully understand how this virus messes with our daily lives and that 2020 has been anything but normal for us. That being said though, we the American people have not done everything we could to try and get our lives back to normal. I know you're probably thinking that it's the government, China, Trump, someone in politics that is to blame for our situation, right? Well, I don't pay a lot of attention to the news or politics, and honestly, I hope I never do. I consider it a waste of my time to take the word of people who would want you to like them purely for their own agendas than to do my own research on the matter. Regardless of how this virus got into our country and who is responsible for it, the fact is we the American people have not shown that we care to slow or even halt the virus. I know this for a fact because the nature of my former job that I left a couple months ago allowed me to speak with people from all over the country who come from different backgrounds and cultures within the states. People of different races, ages, and social classes. I've spoken with all of them. And in my experience with dealing with all of them, not one of them shows any kind of concern for themselves or their loved ones. Allow me to elaborate. So I dealt in housing pretty much in every way at this job. So I would take calls for people who were looking to lease or buy houses, townhomes, apartments, whatever you would need in that regard, right? Well, we also dealt with people who needed assistance with maintenance, customer service, or any other kind of assistance that they would need for their property. I took about 200 to 300 calls a day, so I would speak with thousands of people a month. And these are all different people from different states and don't know each other. But you could honestly swear that they were all the same person. I'll happily explain more on that job and others like it in another video, but to stay on point of why I bring up this type of job, which I have done in other fields, but speaking on housing strictly, I would get calls during this pandemic about how people ask when the pool would open up, or when they could have someone come and fix their grills because they are having company over and want to entertain their guest. those things are not important, nor are they vital. If we were being quarantined or practicing social distancing at this time, you shouldn't be concerned with something so trivial. And to really emphasize on this, I have a story I wish to share that actually happened. So I had a call from a lady who actually called because they have been waiting for a service technician to come and replace their kitchen light bulb for 3 months. That's right, a light bulb for 3 months. And that's not really a joke. This is a real conversation that I actually had. At this time, service technicians would only ever go out to service emergency-related issues, things that would affect the livability of the home. This was the property's way of reducing the risk of their technicians and the tenants from getting infected, while still attempting to be there for the tenants' problems. This woman did not understand that. When I had explained this to her, she got hysterical and said that she had to cook in the darkness and that we wouldn't care if she died from cooking in the darkness. Okay, first of all, if you actually died from cooking in the darkness, a lot of things have to go wrong for that to happen. And if somehow you did, you certainly would have problems, but the light bulb isn't one of them. This woman accused us of not caring for doing exactly that. The reason no one was coming out to do that was to prevent any infection of the virus, but she wasn't going to hear that. Eventually, I had to just tell her that if she really needs the light bulb replaced, that she should go to a nearby store and replace it herself. Because a technician won't go out for anything that's not an emergency issue. She then asked if she would be reimbursed for that. I could not believe how big a deal this lady was making such a trivial matter, but there she was doing so. Eventually, she finally got off, but I probably spent about an hour going back and forth on this matter. This was an issue that only maybe required $5 and 10 minutes to resolve, if that. But she actually waited 3 months because she didn't want to have to do it herself. That is the kind of country we are living in now. We are a people who will make big disputes and conflicts over trivial matters. In addition to that, people actually have the nerve to believe that they are entitled to some form of compensation. No one is entitled to that. It is a courtesy, not a right, that is owed to you, especially during this pandemic. People are getting offended by wearing a mask or being asked to wear one because they have their own thoughts on the effectiveness on it or by how uncomfortable it is. We are trying to live our normal lives when right now, for all of us, it is anything but normal. It's even worse because there are people who will actually try to use their kids as bargaining chips to get what they want. I have actually seen people where they yell at someone to think of their kids and in that same sentence basically say they don't care for the children's safety. Allow me to elaborate on that. So during this pandemic, people want for a stranger to come into their home to fix a petty or trivial issue like the light bulb I mentioned before. Someone that you don't know what they have been around or whom they interact with, to come into your home when you may or may not be there, potentially spreading the virus just so you can have an inconvenience fixed. That's just not rational, no matter how you slice it. But there are people who think that way. And honestly, any parent who would use their child as a bargaining chip when it's not as severe as they make it out to be, is nothing greater than scum. To continue on the mask though, people really are making such a big deal about wearing them. People will say stuff like air gets through, or they don't work, or quote something that they have seen on the news. Whatever the excuse is, it is one. The real reason people don't want to wear a mask is because they simply don't want to be uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. People don't want to be uncomfortable, and so they defy anything that would ask them to be that. None of us want to wear a mask. We wear one simply because we care about someone enough to do so. I know that some people may quote some kind of statistics or news that they saw or someone they know or admire on how real or fake the virus is. I may be alone on this mindset, and I don't really mind if I am. But I wouldn't care if it was just 1% chance that my actions could endanger a family member. If I found out I was responsible for a loved one getting sick or, God forbid, dies, I would never forgive myself. And that's the mentality we should all have. We need to understand that if there's a chance, no matter how small, that if we are wrong to deny this virus, the way we find out from there will crush us. But people have a Superman mindset. A lot of people don't actually believe anything bad will happen to them or their loved ones and act accordingly. People think they are invincible until something does happen and people take unnecessary risk. I have seen in public how there will be 1 or 2 family members of a family wearing a mask, and the rest of the family isn't wearing one. Why? Why are we like this as a society? Even if you're a very loving family, that can and should be considered as being neglectful. It's absolutely neglectful if you are neglecting the health and safety of children like that. Even if you say that it's because of something like they lost it or don't like wearing them, they can stay in the car. I don't know why everyone seems to have to bring their whole family into any type of business when in reality, it only requires one. Only one family member is needed to do whatever business is required. I feel that this virus didn't just affect our lives. I feel that it has weeded out the people who say they care versus the ones who actually do. You can see who really genuinely cares by the ones who try to minimize risk versus those who would want to seem like they do, but do whatever they want at the cost of everyone around them. And in their actions, they show they don't care. Again, I can't say I know the situation. If you have a unique circumstance, and some of you may not have a choice but to take risk, that doesn't apply to everyone though. There are people who go out of their way to be defiant just for the sake of it. Earlier in the year, when this whole thing started, we had people licking toilets as a sort of challenge to say they licked a public toilet seat and didn't get corona. Even if this virus wasn't a thing, why are we licking toilets? Even if you don't get corona, you may get something else. People just want to be defiant for the sake of it, or to get attention, or followers. The way we have been responding to COVID-19 makes us more the virus than anything. I know we are a different culture, but we should be like Japan in this whole pandemic. Before the pandemic, it was normal culture for Japan to wear a mask when one was sick. Japan citizens wear masks as a form of respect to other people as well as themselves. They are taught at a young age to practice proper health prevention and wear the mask in public. They do so even when they're not sick, and feel like that they may be getting sick. They do this so that they can protect themselves and others around them to reduce any spread of illness. We can't do that in a pandemic, and they have been doing it for their entire culture. And I'm pretty sure that they probably have a lot more healthy citizens than us as a result. I could be wrong about that, but the fact is, there's other countries that deal with disease in general a whole lot better than us. We even give people who are required to wear masks for work as per their company policy a hard time for wearing them when they don't even get a choice. Why do we want to start so many conflicts with each other? I'm sure everyone is going through enough this year as it is, and another person doesn't need the problems that we bring them to add on to it. The real questions that I want to ask is this: is it worth the risk? Is it worth the risk of endangering your loved ones or family? Is it worth waking up one day and not seeing the person you loved? Is it worth being the one responsible for why they are either suffering or gone entirely? Regardless of the severity or the validity of it, we need to care more about it, if not for our neighbors, for the ones we love. If people won't do it for themselves, do it for someone that is in your heart at least. Be safer. Be more patient with each other. And most importantly, be kinder to people. Anyways, I think that about covers my thoughts on this topic. So if you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments below, and leave a like and subscribe. And until the next video, I'll catch you guys later.